is being
Councilor
recorded.
McGinnis
Here.
and Mayor McNeely is present. The consent agenda is a tool used to streamline meeting procedures by collecting routine, non-controversial items into a group whereby all are passed with a single motion and vote. Councilors, you have before you the consent agenda on the approval of the meeting minutes for council workshop on Wednesday, January 11th, 2023, council meeting on Wednesday, January 11th, 2023, and the January 2023 check register. The minutes of the previous meetings and check register were distributed beforehand. May I have a motion to approve?
I have a couple corrections on the minutes.
Okay,
On the first page where it says roll call, it lists Cindy K's name as Mary K. instead of Cindy K. Counselor, or Cindy K. Gregory absent. We could correct that. And then on the last page where it says add and remove check signers, it says Mary McGinnis made the motion and then Mary McGinnis seconded the motion. And it was Tom Martine who seconded the motion.
Martine's second.
Yeah.
City Manager Shepherd, can we approve these as amended, or that'll be?
I think we should do them separately.
So,
Yes, we can do the regular workshop. You make a motion for that.
take each item separately. Okay, all right. So do I have a motion to approve the council workshop minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes for the workshop on January 11th, 2023.
Okay. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Council President Cheek,
Yes.
Councilor Hayes,
Yes.
Councilor Martine,
Yes.
Councilor McGinnis.
Yes.
And then do I hear a motion to approve the amended council meeting minutes for Wednesday, January 11th, 2023?
I make a motion to approve January 11th City Council meeting minutes as amended.
I'll second it.
Okay. Council President Cheek,
Yes.
Councilor Hayes,
Yes.
Councilor Martine,
Yes.
Councilor McGinnis.
Yes.
It's moved and seconded and passed. All right, then do I hear a motion to approve the January 2023 check register?
I make a motion to approve the January 2023 check register.
I'll second it.
Council President Cheek,
Yes.
Councilor Hayes,
Yes.
Councilor Martine,
Yes.
Councilor McGinnis.
Yes.
It's passed unanimously. All right, the chair recognizes John Paul Bowles, who will discuss the Seminary Trail Project management proposal. Please hold your questions to the end of the presentation.
Folks, you should stand here.
Well, would you like to stand over by the presentation? That way, filming will see both the presentation and your presentation.
Yes, thank you. Let's see if I'm got the direction. Excellent. Thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure to present the work session a month ago. Before I start, I want to acknowledge that the feedback that you all gave previously, and that was covered at the end of the work session, but specifically the landscape assessment in response to how we can mitigate some of the dependencies that were in the initial proposal, and make sure that those are uncovered upfront as much as possible. Also, the monthly reporting, which you see in the revised proposal, and what I took as an invitation to partner and collaborate. I've framed my thinking since then around this proposal on really being an extension of the city and an advocate for the city in this project and attracting resources to it now and in the future as well. And then the third piece, of course, being budget, responding to that, the improvements on budget. So hopefully you'll see that throughout the presentation, but happy to circle back and underscore anything that you guys wanted to hear more on. Excuse the quiet voice and frog in my throat. I'm getting over the most recent bug, so I need to speak up if you guys have questions let me know. So we're talking about a path that connects communities within Rockaway Beach and up to the school. And this community's done a lot of work in that area already. We say throughout the school.
You're trying to say something to you, Charles. I think he's blocking the screen.
I'll leave her. Sounds good. So not only a path that will connect communities within Rockaway Beach and students to the school, but eventually a path that will connect north and south as well. This is a beach and students to the school, and of course the Sanderberry Trail. So I see my job primarily on this work moving forward to be representing the city, to be talking to folks within the community, all of you leaders, community members of different perspectives, so that this path is designed right for this community. It is something that is bigger and broader regionally, but order number one is making sure that it benefits citizens, residents of the city here in Rockaway and reflects the values and preferences locally. Again, I'm with Destination Management Advisors. It's a consulting company that I've run for about a decade. I'm originally from Oregon and moved back about 10 years ago and started this business and focused on sustainable tourism, destination management, active transportation, and outdoor recreation infrastructure. Basically, I strongly believe that people should have a lot of access to the outdoors, that we will be better off if it's easier to move around more, walking in town, spending time outdoors. The health benefits and mental health benefits, community benefits are very clear in that front. So it's been a great area for me to focus my business on. More personally to the city of Rockaway Beach and the North Coast here, I grew up here and around here. Originally outside of Oregon City, with a grandmother in Manzanita, an uncle who's still a fish guiding Garibaldi, generations of cousins attending King County High and middle schools, and seeing a lot of good and real challenges at a very personal level. So connected to the community and place, probably more than I have a right to, but I think there are probably thousands and thousands of people who have enjoyed time here throughout their lives who feel similar. But that is certainly part of what I'm bringing to this project. That in addition to the technical expertise and relationships that are required for infrastructure projects like this magnitude. To speak to that for just a minute, I presented on the Oregon Coast Trail Talk probably 8 years ago now, with their director, compelling the board to be invested in that, to pay attention, to get wheels turning more earnestly on it. So of course, this section of path is part of that. I was previously with the Sanderberry Trail Foundation for quite a while, which is how Luke and I initially came to work together. And have been trying to draw attention to the need for financial and technical resource, particularly for communities that don't have as much capacity, internally, so that it can be really efficient drawing of resources to projects like this that serve public good. I'm also working now on what will be the world's longest mountain biking trail, Orogenesis, as well as resilient headwaters to Sinking Canyon, which is a project around wildfire recovery and recreational trails as part of long-term economic development. All of that is both centered on elements that are relevant to Rockaway in terms of the path and a safe route to school, but they also very much have to do with things like how we manage tourism and over-tourism, how we diffuse visitors, how we look at particularly congested areas and try to get people spread out more within the destination, often with the goal of keeping them in the destination in their shops longer. So there are nuances and implications for a project like this on local businesses, community health, kids going to school, and these are all elements that, or lenses that should be overlaid on a project like this. Just a bit on the history of the project. I know it's one of those things that's been floating around for quite a while. And I think expectations are a genuine challenge with these types of projects. In 2017, the Coast Segment Report was published, and that was a look at engineering feasibility for a trail along the coast This is specific to San Berry Trail, ending at that in Tillamook and then coming through the state forest just north of Wheeler. So that report has been out for a while. There's some vetting and circling back that will be done to check assumptions and time on that. In 2020, I think late 2020, Luke and I initially started working on the Community Pass opportunity. This is a new program through ODOT, new way to get state and federal funds out for projects like this. It was really wonderful seeing that project approved. Then, of course, we went through the process of inflation and construction not being feasible and not having enough inputs on design for ODOT to move forward with that proposal, even after approving it. So then rolled up our sleeves some more, said, all right, well, can we, and that was initially for a shorter section from Washington Street to the wayside. And so we said, all right, well, can we do refinement and planning for Washington Street to the school site? It was just going to be planned. We got a green light on that. And so that has been essentially the decision point where it is right now. There's been obviously an influx of funding for transportation projects because of the federal aid packages in the last couple of years. And so my perception, and I say this broadly, not specific to a program or agency or place, is that there's a lot of work. People are having a hard time staffing up. The system is a little more gummed up than usual. There's more resource trying to come through the system, less resource trying to process that. So I think it's just a reality, and that would, of course, be part of the landscape assessment. Where are we? What capacity is there? Obviously, the initial timelines for this project specifically that have been set by ODOT through their program need to be updated and revised. Again, absolutely no layer of, no lens of anything should be different, just the realities of the last couple of years. So now going into this process of design, the proposal that's in front of you, it was really gratifying to see in a lot of your bios that your part of your platform for positions you have is transparency and community engagement, and that really was elevated in the last conversation that we had. So I think that is really central to this project. There are also the additional components of let's organize the suite of players around this, run a program, get on people's schedules, and do all of that, kind of outreach that is needed internally to attract resources and attention to the project. Community outreach, again, is very central to this, and we have a few layers of it, starting with all of you and community leaders, sharing about the project and making sure there's a feedback loop that actually informs design. I think we'll get more role clarity through the landscape assessment, but leading community outreach is certainly central to this proposal and role, and stakeholder engagement as well. And the stakeholder engagement speaks to folks who are looking at this project who aren't necessarily in Rockaway or Tillamook County, but are looking at big regional trail systems and would like to see them succeed. So some of the benefits for a project like this, or this project specifically around safe routes to school, connected, a separated walking path to school is in and of itself a justification for this project, especially given what we know from 101 about traffic data, how narrow the shoulders are, all those things, all the effort that you all and others have put into that safe routes to school plan. And then, of course, we get to some economic development and just livability benefits, spreading people around. We have, particularly the coast, points where a lot of visitors come and congregate, and that can become really problematic, especially if that might be part of your commute or daily life as a resident. I think it's also interesting that health outcomes are generally lower for rural residents, even in beautiful places like this. And it is often harder for folks to get outside and recreate easily without having barriers that are maybe even unconscious, crossing busy streets, things like that. So just to go into those three components a bit more, and I'll go quickly here. We have the landscape assessment, which again gives us a fresh look. What's everybody's timeline? How overburdened are you or available are you? How can we schedule this so that we're meeting benchmarks along the way? Project management, fairly straightforward, but an important element given the number of different stakeholders from different agencies and all of the workload and capacity challenges that folks are generally facing right now. So just streamlining that for them, making really easy touch points to give technical input. And then, of course, reporting back to you guys, which again, I see now more as being a liaison, being an advocate for the city, being part of the conversation in a way that is also works for your schedules and the other things that you're invested. So as much as reporting, I see that as, giving updates on the project schedule, challenges, opportunities, but also a constant feedback loop that I'm carrying back to the other core project partners on this. For community engagement, the process is outlined generally as sharing a lot of information. What's in front of us? What is the path intended to do? And then from there, sitting down with folks and listening, hearing what concerns are, seeing how we can add design elements to mitigate those concerns and address them, and having, again, that feedback loop with the core team, which would be, agency folks, generally technical advising, and the community input on what this path should be and what it should look like and how it might influence the community in some ways. And then from there, as we get down to specific design elements, looking at things like what are the implications on parking or access to local businesses, working closely with the schools on certain elements of what a crossing might look like. So another round of feedback as we get deeper into the process technically to get specific input on certain elements of the project. Stakeholder engagement is being involved with folks who are watching this from a circle or two outside of the city of Rockaway Beach. And there are a couple of goals there. One is this is an opportunity for the city to demonstrate leadership and be essentially first to market on something like this, which I think is a great opportunity to deliver on the ideas of transparency and participation and have that be a model for how future projects like this unfold and even connecting paths that extend north and south. And then engaging this other list of folks, other state agencies, elected officials, folks at Salmon Valley, Oregon Coast Trail. There's a long list of stakeholders who are invested in this, who, if we intentionally are doing that communication and outreach, if they're invested in the success, I think we can put the project at a very optimistic place when the planning is complete and it's time to access construction funding, which is significant. So that is the general overview, and hopefully similar to what you guys saw, but also reflecting the input that you gave last time.
Questions?
Can I go last in case someone else has the same?
Sure.
I read the pamphlet and listened to what Paul had to say, and I think I'm pretty well informed.
You made remotely on Zoom, you made a pretty thorough presentation last week and answered our questions last week also, or last month. Not last week. And that helped considerably. And I appreciate the revisions that we asked for that you came back.
But eventually,
And I don't know if everyone realizes how this has been about a 5-year project for Rockaway. A couple of us planning commissioners started attending the Salmonberry Trail board meetings about 5 years ago. Then Luke became city manager and he picked it up and started getting the funding. So it's really nice to see that maybe we do have some funding now, so maybe we can actually just get something done. And after 5 years, and it'd be nice to have a safe place for kids to walk to school, a safe place for the cross-country team to run without running on the shoulder of 101, or elderly people or other people with limited mobility who can't go and walk on the beach would have a nice paved place to walk. There's just so many advantages to this. And just being part of the whole connecting trail, which will eventually go from Tillamook to Banks, and having our slice be the first slice completed. It's nice to move it forward. So I appreciate having your expertise in this. And I also appreciate you reducing your fee.
I think it's nice being first.
Yes, no, that's fine. Bill, did you have a
Yeah, I
question?
had a question. Is the trail from Neoconic down to Washington Street going to be ADA compliant? So wheelchairs can go the entire distance safely?
that is assumed in the preliminary design and would be part of the design parameters for this process.
Yes.
I have a question. What is the cost of the study?
The refinement budget, I think, is 700,000, or 700,000.
Can,
I have one question,
Okay.
sorry, two questions. The Salmonberry Trail, its approach into Tillamook is the Horton, kind of that, on the Horton Slough. Is that
Oh,
correct?
Yeah, there is definitely a trailhead there that is intended to be part of the Sunbury Trail. My understanding is that there have been a couple of looks at where the trail should go through the city of Tillamook, and that there's some of that will be resolved when they're in this type of phase as well.
Okay, and the reason I asked that question is because those of us that kind of know that area, there's a big homeless camp there that I personally would not feel safe to walk on. And I kind of wonder about that.
That's very reasonable. I understand. Part of the role and broadening the role of partnership and collaboration and representing, working closely with the city is not only looking at the alignment of a path like this, but having conversations with the folks who are on the agenda later on, EMS and fire, in search and rescue, fire department, sheriff. There will certainly be implications, and so I think understanding that there's a lot to be addressed, and making sure those are part of conversations very early on is important.
And will there be a community gathering and having something like this where we can voice our opinions and questions and,
Absolutely, that would be a part of that, the community engagement component.
okay, and that will.
Yes.
and I just wanted to interject that, thanks for asking about the money. And I wanted everyone to know that it's not coming out of the city coffers, but there was a grant from Oregon Department of Transportation as part of the Pathways grant to pay for this.
I'd like to expand on that.
Okay,
It's
please do.
appropriate. Part of what I built my business around and the role that I executed at the Senator Trail Foundation is bringing external money into rural communities. And that's part of my bias and lens. I'm a rural kid, and we are underrepresented in terms of state and federal funding out close to rural communities. And so, I was aware when I asked the question how much the budget was that I hadn't addressed that was a gap on my part. So, one, yes, these budgets sound very high, and the amount of process that goes into them and technical expertise that's created the ecosystem that it is. Nobody in this room had any influence on the budget or design for this. However, some folks certainly did have a role in bringing that money to the community. So I think it's very, very important to underscore Councilor Vince's point that this is not resident tax money, but rather bringing money into the community. That said, the federal funding that has come out in the last couple of years will only be available for the next funding cycle through this program. There's urgency around this, I do want to underscore that. If this process, which it can and should be, complete the design process, then the city will be eligible for construction funding through this program in 2024. There's quite a bit of funding that will be in there, and that budget will shrink dramatically. It will be very competitive. So having this design process done in time to be in line for those funds is a very important consideration.
Yeah, there's really so much about this that's really exciting for our city. I'll just highlight the one that stands up for me is funneling tourists off the trail into our merchant corridor and extracting more money from their wallets as they traverse through Rockaway Beach. For me, that's just huge.
It will have a huge positive economic impact for our businesses.
Absolutely.
So we did agree we did a match or a portion. We did put a little money into this. I forget what it was, like 10%.
Yes, 10%. Good point. Thank you. I'm sorry if this represents that.
And the state is predicting that there's going to be a bunch of money on the table for special projects and things in 2024 and 25. And then there's supposed to be a big dip. And so this is something, if we're going to do it, we should do it now. For me, the hitch or the worry about it is I see us doing this along 101 for us. I worry about like Moeller and some of the the hidden areas that I grew up in, I worry about how we'll protect them, or have folks living. And so I do have worries on the other side. For us, my biggest thing is the materials that are used and making sure that they are creating, for me, I want to see locals that are walking on the train tracks that I worry about falling, or walking their dogs every day. I want it for the folks who live here too. I worry about the materials that might be used. And so does any of this, phase one, the design, talk about pavers or concrete? Or for me, I want to protect the wetlands and stormwater drainage, and I don't want to see stuff built that's going to flood out little tiny old homes. We already struggle with that so much. And so the materials my question is, will some of that be in phase one? And will we get a voice in any of that?
Yeah, great question. Considerations, whether it will be in phase one or be in phase two. I would imagine it could be, it would or could be in phase one, although once we have the landscape assessment and a better idea of how it unfolds, that will inform the schedule. In terms of environmental impacts, things like flooding, ODOT is really central to this. There will be other agencies that are involved, like DEQ and Department of State Lands, and they all, of course, have guide rails for projects like this. Now, within those guardrails, there are often options, and then there are considerations of cost and feasibility. So that is certainly part of this design process, and the process that we're setting up, especially these conversations early on, gives us an opportunity to dig down and say that if there's such a possibility to do a permeable surface that is also ADA accessible, we'd like to consider that in the design parameters. And then we can at least understand what the cost implications are. So frankly, I'm smiling because those are things that I value. I try to not impose, certainly a lens when I work with places, but it's great to hear these types of considerations that are certainly central to my business values. And I think there are ways to accommodate more considerations than we often are predisposed to.
I think we have a question.
I have a couple questions. What side of 101 is it going to run?
I believe west largely here, and then yes, on the west side.
On the west side of the railroad tracks, or
On the west side of 101, it would be where the
on the east side? East side of the railroad tracks, west side.
No.
Okay. And is it going to end at Neoconi High School, or is it continuing north?
Eventually, the idea is that it will continue north. This section is specifically from Washington Street to the schools.
And you've made several different comments about high school kids. Do we even know how many high school kids we have in this town that would impact?
I don't know that answer, but I'm sure it's known and it's certainly findable.
I do. We have 240 students and they walk.
But they don't live in Rockaway.
No, but they come to Center Market. They are in Rockaway, those kids. Where else are they gonna go for lunch? Or,
School. Okay, I didn't know because I know that the population in this town does not support a lot of high school kids. They all come from the Hale, Romance, and so.
And then, I think there's a, maybe I'm reading your comment. I think it's easy to look at positive funding, particularly around transportation, and say, is this where, if I had a magic wand of this X amount of dollars, is this where I would spend it? And there's a bit of a false dichotomy there in that these are specifically transportation funds for active transportation for separated paths. And so they're very specific parameters for those. And so that it is then, how could that best be used in Rockaway?
Okay, I just know that as a high school kid, if I'm gonna go to Central Market, I'm gonna drive my car. I don't have enough time to walk.
We have another question over Diane. Is it Diane?
So my question is, how are you going to put a pathway between 101 and railroad tracks when there's nothing but ditches along there full of water?
So my job will be to go talk to several engineers and wetlands folks and other people who have very specific, expertise around those things, and put all of those pieces together in a design.
I mean, are they going to run culverts all the way down, because animals actually do use those ditches? And It's like, are you gonna build a boardwalk over the top of those?
So, there's not a boardwalk perceived in the design as it is right now, the 2017 report. The work that is done now will, be based off that as well as community engagement. And it would be, I yield my skis trying to answer those questions specifically, but the way the process is set up is that, I do certainly hope to work with you all and on behalf of you all, that a few months from now, and again, in the future, we're having community gatherings that have more specific elements that we're looking at. And so the community engagement conversation that I had prior to that will inform who's at those meetings, what research I'm doing, and answering questions just like that. Some of them I'll have answers to, and some will say, I'm gonna talk to somebody and I will either call back or we'll discuss this at the next meeting.
I think we had a gentleman who had his hand up first.
Yes, will there at some point there is now be available to the public or to post map that would be available online or that we can view?
Yes, absolutely. And in the specifics of the proposal, one of the first elements we have for community engagement is information on the city website. There's a preliminary design drawing that was submitted with the initial proposal that Luke and I worked on. And that would go up and I would put a big stamp over it that said draft. Because that is what we are doing is basically going from here's the idea to, all right, we want to build this thing. What does it look like?
John Paul, maybe that original study that you're referring to could be put on the website. I'm not sure if everyone knows, this is a intergovernment agency that is in charge of the Salmonberry Trail. It's the Department of Forestry, the Grand Ronde Reservation, Department of State Parks. There's like 5 big state agencies, ODF and W, that make up the board and that are designing this. Our grant actually came from ODOT, so they're part of this too. And originally there was a study done from Tillamook to Banks. And that's something maybe you could put on the website so people could see where we're only responsible from city limits to city limits. And they could see where our little tiny slice fits in to this whole project.
Yes, absolutely.
There was a question in the back there. She was next. Go ahead.
So I'm just a little confused. 5 years ago, 4 years ago, when into the Sunbury Club, and at least that there was a Sunbury Club. Everything I recall was under the impression that it was on the west side of the railroad tracks. Today it's reported that it's on the east side.
It's been, I haven't looked at that preliminary report in a little while, and I'd be happy to get you a more detailed answer to that, Luke. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, and
or others.
one of the things John Paul's gonna do is to make sure whatever side of the tracks it's on, it's where we want it to be. I don't care what's in that side. It's what we want. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, that's what we're signing a contract with him for, is for him to guide our concerns back to all those government agencies that I just mentioned.
Well, how is that gonna impact though? I'm talking especially between Silver Sands and where's the room gonna be? If you're on the east side of the railroad tracks, are you crowding 101? And how are you gonna make that trail so you don't get run by the train when it comes in 4 times a day? If you're on the west side of the railroad tracks, are you doing away with the Miller Street so that, where are those people parked? Are you doing away with the parking strip in between the Silver Sands and, yeah?
These are all the types of questions that they looked at and many, many more, including what type of pavers are permeable surface or how will it impact wetland zones, access to businesses,
Get
parking.
rid of that diagonal pull-in parking on the east side of the railroad tracks and you're killing the merchants. We don't have enough parking in this town as it is.
Understood.
We're actually having
Yes.
public workshops where folks can
That's
come and go, then that will be like we did for the Cedar Wetlands Preserve, where you do surveys and give input, and he's promised us monthly reports on what's happening, and in the end, all we're having him do is a design.
Right.
And then at that point, we decide together as a community if we want to go for the next grant and even have the work done.
And,
So
and,
this
and-
is just a step.
yeah, and as I understand it, you're not designing it. You're working with other people that will design it, so
That's right.
there's a lot of other partners in this.
Right.
And that will do the designing. All we're doing right now is deciding in city council, do we want to work with John Paul to help guide this in the way that all of us want it guided?
I think what's very exciting to me about what I've heard from Mr. Bowles is community outreach, community outreach, community outreach. It was evident in his presentation last month. It's very evident in this presentation. And that's what should drive projects in our city. So I love the questions. I love the inquiries. We don't have the answers to most of the questions yet because we haven't started having the conversation. So we look to see you all at those public community outreach meetings.
It's been, even to this point, I think I went to my first meetings in 2012 on this, for the Brownsville or Brownsbury or something like that, but this, and here we are now, finally, right? 10 years later.
Well, as a representative of the Merchants Association, we cannot afford to lose any more parking. So if I can put that in as a suggestion that be careful with what we don't have already, by putting a trail in that won't do us any good at all, I just want that noted.
As a representative of the Merchants Association, will be at the very top of the direction.
I would love it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bowles.
Thank you.
Before we go to staff reports, Chief Hesse, I do need to step back. I forgot to get an approval on our check register.
Oh.
So may I hear a motion to approve our check register?
I move that we approve the check register for January the 8th, 2023.
I'll second this.
All right, roll call vote. And first, I want to thank Council President Cheek for reminding me that I missed that step. So thank you for that. Council President Cheek,
Yes.
Councilor Hayes,
Yes.
Councilor Martine,
Yes.
Councilor McGinnis.
Yes,
It is unanimous. All right, so let's move on to staff reports. Chief, tell us about the fire department, please.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, you have before you the fire department report for January 23. Start with the runs of the month. We had 63 different events. January started off fairly busy, had 36 911 calls, 29 of them were medical. It's kind of a repeat every month how busy the medical staff has been. Really nothing else notable other than one water rescue call in January, which is interesting. People are still out in the water. We're still trying to educate them. We'll talk about that in a minute. Heavy on training this month. We took some opportunities in the winter to host some trainings. We worked on communications, small tools, nozzles. There's a list there. We'll talk about a little more detail in a minute. And then 15 non-emergent. We were on the beach 3 times. Public assist 3 times, lift assist 3 times, a couple burn complaints already in January, which was interesting. So it started off as a lot of variety and a busy month. Year to date, it's pretty easy to look at just a 1 month comparison from January of last year to this year. We actually had more 911 calls in January of 2022, but we still are keeping pace. Non-emergent calls were same at 15. Trainings, we had 12 trainings this month instead of 9 we had last year. So 63 different events, busy month. Training update there, the next paragraph is talking about, I kind of said we're working on pumping, we're working about quicker attack, fire attacks, really trying to hone our skills this year. We had PUD come and give an electrical safety class last week, fire size up operations. But a couple things I thought were real important here. The EMT class started in January. And I'd like to bring out that there's 21 students in that class. They're sitting across the street right now learning. They do it Wednesday night and all day Saturday. The interesting part I thought is there's 21 students representing all 7 volunteer fire departments in Tillamook County. And that to me, it says a lot about the dedication of the volunteers in the county, because all those are volunteers over there. And they're coming from Etarts and Pacific City and twice a week. And we're fortunate enough to be able to host that class, which is really pretty exciting. We're also going to be hosting a trauma class sometime in the spring and a couple of classes on firefighting development of operations. Next page is talking about beach safety. Like I say, January last year, we didn't do anything on the beach. It was stormy and typical, and people were staying off the beach. We were actually out there 4 different times this last month, and watching people during the higher tides or the storms, and actually had a couple of citizens that helped notify us that there was actually people playing in the water during the higher tides. So we had a couple educational moments to remind people that it's fairly dangerous to be with your back to the ocean in those high tides. And other than that, the preparedness group is continuing to work hard. We're focusing and trying to figure out what our real roles are, working on some trainings coming up. But the most important thing I can tell everybody is there's going to be a preparedness fair, tax day, April 15th. Yep. Nia County High School. We'll have it on our websites, anywhere we can get it out there, maybe even mail. We're debating our options right now. But we want everybody to attend. There'll be a lot of good information, a lot of different community partners there to present, and there's free prizes. That's a good thing. And then I have to say a thank you to Public Works. The teamwork we have in the city of Rockaway is pretty amazing, all the way from administrative staff to each department. But we had some problems with the radio infrastructure. Public Works over the last month has helped us get our antennas fixed and our new antennas up, so we've improved our communication plan here in the city of Rockaway. And I'd like to thank you, Dan, for all your help. It's been great with your staff. AFG grants moving forward. We should get our delivery of our new SCBA's next week. It's our Valentine's Day gift. It's supposed to be here 14th. It's a big step because our old SCBA's are non-compliant right now. So the new ones will be here and we'll be up to speed. Other than that, I would answer any questions the council may have.
Could you give everyone here just a little rundown what to expect on Preparedness Day at the high school?
I would actually like to defer that to the committee that's working on it.
Oh, okay.
But there's lots of different presentations. County emergency management, local emergency management will give some tips. There'll be lots of little classes of, I don't know all the classes, to be honest with you. I don't remember everything, but off the top of my head. Anybody from the committee want to give a couple of those?
Yeah.
Please. Yeah, you get better information than me. Please.
So we'll have EVCAD there, and they'll be doing some demonstrations. There'll be demonstrations of CPR. Red Cross will be there. Various fire departments, mainly it's North County. Radio, they'll be on the black, yellow radios that we use. There'll be radio demonstrations there. If you have questions, and we'll be speakers. It's from 11 to 2 on the 15th.
Yeah. Should be a good bet.
It's information. It's a lot of information. Tables will be set up with different exhibitors.
Yeah, it should be fun and informative. Any other questions?
All right, well, thank you, Chief Hesse.
I think you mentioned a while ago, you're going to hold another CPR class, you know, and that's going to be.
We're actually, if you would call us or get a hold of us at the station, we're gathering a list right now for some community CPR classes, and we'd be happy to set one up. We're pretty flexible on that one.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the chair recognizes Deputy Kevin Grogan to report on the Tillamook County Sheriff's Office.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. So January was a pretty steady month for the Sheriff's Office patrol in Rockaway. As we all know, school is back in session, and something that me and other deputies in Rockaway have been working on is contacting students and staff to better help them in the area that they need. Also, with school being back in session, I do want to state to the locals at Rockaway, when those flashing lights are flashing, that means 20 miles per hour. 3 times a day they're on, and 3 times a day we'll probably sit there. So no hesitation on that part. Speaking of speed limits, we all noticed that the 30-mile-per-hour signs have been knocked down during the storm last year. We felt generally southbound. ODOT has since replaced those to get people to further slow down when entering town. Not good for me, but good for the city, so we'll work on that. We had quite a few notable calls for service this month, including a delayed report for a potential domestic violence. This case was investigated and reports been forwarded to the district attorney's office. We also received help from Marion County Sheriff's Office, who assisted with information and forwarding that to the DA. We also have a local juvenile that's been reported as a runaway multiple times. We're working with the family and community partnerships to identify a strategy to alleviate the persistent attempts to run away. We also took a violation of a stalking order report in down off Washington Street. At the conclusion of the investigation, it was determined the order had been violated and the suspect was arrested. And also to we touched on it a little bit earlier, but there's a session over there. Tillamook County Sheriff's Office has teamed up with other local agencies to develop a task force on homelessness. So what the task force is, it essentially provides persons who are homeless with needs and resources to get assistance and hopefully getting them a place to stay. Also, to pass along to whoever's looking for a career change, the Sheriff's Office is having a 2-day hiring event on February 16th and 17th at the Tillamook County Fairgrounds. First day is a knowledge tests and a physical test. Second day is set up for interviews. So if anybody's wanting to change progressions, 2 days, go for it. We'll take any applications. Other than that, any questions?
Thank you, Deputy Grogan. All right, the chair recognizes Public Works Superintendent Dan Emerson.
Mayor, Council, City Manager. January's weather was calm with king tides January 20th and 22nd, requiring Public Works to dig out the creeks a few times to keep the water flowing, but the weather was calm. About this time last year, Big River was awarded the main lift station project upgrade. After about 1 year, we noticed a warranty issue. This is being fixed by the contractors tomorrow. Public Works has sent off our 3rd Street water bridge motor for rebuild. This was planned maintenance, and today we put it back into service. The new pump house is also on a maintenance schedule with a new motor seal kit to be installed. This was also completed today. Public Works replaced 2 water services and capped 1 old service on Northwest 17th Street. This was a known problem area that was not backfilled properly. We installed another water service on Adheide Street in the Donna Beach. Something that I think is worth noting, Rockaway has had several contractors start work on water and or sewer services, but were not able to finish. This is mostly due to high water table and most things being built on sand. People do not understand the difficulty when digging in the sand, especially with high water tables. This type of construction requires special tools, training, equipment, like most construction, and not to mention it's wet and cold the entire time. Public Works is having issues with our smaller dump truck. The hydraulic dump bed was not operating properly. We called voids for some hydraulic repair. Voids concluded the hydraulic motor was not grounded properly and the wires were getting too hot from the exhaust. This was also repaired and is working properly. Public Works has contacted Oregon Woods, the original builders of the boardwalk. They will be doing repair work to the old growth cedar forest trail. This is scheduled to be completed in the second half of February, fingers crossed. The city's wayfinding signs are going up and looking great. I hope people are happy to see the new signs going up. And once the boardwalk is fixed, there are more signs to be read. And thanks to Mr. Hassel, they were placed correctly. It has been a busy season for tree removal. Public Works has received many calls about dangerous trees that have either fallen or could fall and damage property, or even worse. We do our best to remove or help with removing hazardous trees and would like to thank the public for their patience while we work on these hazardous trees. And Public Works is always doing training, like the fire department. We are required to have water and wastewater certifications. These certifications require continuing education units to keep valid. Most of our crew will be training in March, and we recently had a Public Works employee, Logan Rowan, pass the Distribution 1 certificate. This is a requirement for his job description, and I'm very proud of the Public Works Department and could not ask for a better group of people to work with. This is my 13th month as a superintendent, and without the support of the team, it would not have been possible. So a huge thanks to all city staff. Are there any questions?
Two congratulations. Congratulations to you for completing a year as the Public Works Superintendent.
Thank you.
And please tell Logan, congratulations for passing his level 1 certification.
Well, yeah.
Thank you, Superintendent Edwards. All right, the chair recognizes City Manager Luke Shepherd.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Just a few things tonight. We are approaching the budget season. I've said a lot of what we're actually doing. And so we have tentatively scheduled our budget meetings for the year. All of this will go up to the budget committee this week, and we'll finalize all these dates. But what we're looking at right now is an April 6th, an April 13th, and a March 10th for our budget committee meetings. We'll post all this online, and the budget committee will get more information on the budget process, and the budget committee over budget law. And for some of them, it will be a refresher. For some, it'll be new. And I'm always willing to work with anybody on the committee on the mechanics of local budget law, how we put our budget together. So more of that to come, but we are kind of roughing in the dates for these meetings. Looking forward to the budget season. I want to cover real briefly the 3 resolutions before the council today. It's not always clear in the packets what we're trying to accomplish, so I'll just go over them real quick. Number 1 is resolution 23980, and that's what John Paul presented on. Basically, Sunbury Trail project manager. The council has an opportunity to hire a professional project manager and a community outreach team. It's going to be a long-term, large project. And it has the potential for a big impact on Rockaway, wherever it ends up. And so dedicating resources now should pay dividends in the end, should increase the benefits to Rockaway. And like John Paul mentioned, there's a window for funding, and we need to get in on that. Because it is going to be an expensive project, and it's not going to come out of our taxpayers' pockets, hopefully the ODOT's pocketbook. We've also resolution 23981. Superintendent Emerson spoke about this a little bit. Back in December, we had a storm, and there's about $25,000 in damages out there. It's covered by insurance, but because of how Oregon budget law works, I do need the council to authorize the expenditures, and then we can go out and Dan can go out and get his the Oregon Woods to make the repairs. Like he said, mid-February 2023. And Oregon Woods did phase 1 and phase 2 of the boardwalks. They know what they're doing up there. And then the third resolution, 982, it deals with South First Street, the railroad crossing as you go to the wayside. We've talked about this. Well, we're not going to talk about it a lot. We've had a lot of complaints about it over the years. And so we've created a partnership with the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad, where we'll supply the materials, they'll do all the work to complete the project and coordinate the project, get all the permits for the project. And then we can go ahead and get that crossing approved. And I think the idea is to replace what's there with 5-foot wide concrete block material, and then we'll repave that intersection. So it should be a nice smooth, much smoother than what we have now. Right now it's kind of a disaster. So anyway, that can start as early as April 2023, and our public works crew will handle the paving as soon as the asphalt plants open up for the year. It may be in April, maybe after that. And then a new addition to the council packets. It's the monthly financial statement. We've been posting these online for years. The mayor and I felt it was a good idea to get it in your package just so you all have it. It will be a draft because it does take a few weeks to finalize these documents. It won't be the final for your packets, but the final will be posted online. The draft is 99.9% the final, typically anyway. But the financial statement covers the monthly and year-to-date revenue and expenditures for all of the city's funds. And if there's anything out of the ordinary, I'll mention that at our meetings. You know, like for this month, I can tell you all of our revenues are coming in as expected. Some of them may be higher than expected. And all of our funds, as far as expenditures go, we're on track to stay within our budget this year. So we're doing well as far as our budget goes this year. We're about halfway through. Then we've got a future project lined out with the Tillamook Coast Visitors Association to put together a destination management plan. It's something they do for free for cities. I think they're working on one with Manzanita. I believe they finished one with Bay City. And it's no cost. And what a destination management plan is, it's a way for the community to tell us in the council what are your priorities for the TRT money we have. And through that process, the council, through adopting the plan, kind of prioritizes what projects are going to be funded each year. And it's nice for staff because we're able to plan and budget for the project in a reasonable amount of time. So the plan, the destination management plan is created through a series of council meetings and workshops over several months. And I believe we're going to kick off in October 2023. So it'll be the next budget year, something we can do in the fall and winter.
And excuse me, I just, so the three workshops that City Manager Shepherd's speaking of are community workshops. So again, we're going to put you all to work in October to come to a workshop and tell us how you want us to spend the TRT money. Because again, this is about city government going out to you and getting your input on how you want us to govern the city. So I'm very excited about this opportunity. And as he said, it's free.
It is free. Very nice. And then just a few other items. We realize the sound quality on our current system is could be a lot better. So we're working on a plan to improve the video and the sound quality, a better way to do our presentations, way to interact with people joining us remotely, and also adjust the seating so we can fit, especially the planning commission. They've got more members than the council, and we've got a liaison now, we've got the mayor who attends. I like to attend those, and we have the planner. So we're going to put a plan together for this room in particular to kind of improve our meetings. Hopefully, for the next workshop, we'll have something the council can look at. I got somewhat disappointing news yesterday. The plan was to have some vehicle charging stations paid for by ODOT at our Anchor Street parking lot project, part of our Anchor Street parking project. ODOT's not funding anything along Highway 101 until at least 2025, 2026. So we may have a parking lot before we have the charging stations. It's not the end of the world, but a little disappointing. And then our next city newsletter we'll put out in March, and we've got our Lake Lytle workshop on the 22nd at 6 p.m. And anybody interested in helping us plan for Lake Lytle, please attend and bring your ideas. That's all I have.
Council questions for City Manager Shepherd?
The assessment that we voted on doing, do you have an update about that?
The housing needs analysis?
No, it was more of the organizational, I forget.
Yes, I hope to have some more info for you at our next workshop.
Okay.
Yeah, that's still in the works.
Okay.
Yep.
So. My only other thing would be the League of Cities suggested that we do a survey about recycling. And I touched bases with the mayor about that, and he said that you had done that, and I was under the impression they wanted input from us as well.
I can tell you what it was. It was a survey about future funding for recycling services in Rockaway, but also up and down the coast. And real simple, it's, do you want more services than you have now? Yes. What's your population? Here it is. That was it. So
it doesn't help. So I asked David McCall, I saw him, and he told me, come to the meeting on Tuesday. And I think the second biggest complaint we get at the caboose is that we don't recycle here. The first one is access to the beach, but the second one is that folks want to know, why don't you recycle? And so I've always felt like that was really out of reach for us, but for me, that would be one of the coolest things we could expand on as a community here. I really miss old Cardin up in Manzanita. You know, we used to go there a lot. And as things change and we can't like burn down old buildings and things, I like to recycle stuff as much as possible. I need to be better at it. I think if we had closer places to do that, I would be better at it. And so if there's a way I can help with that, I would do so.
And hopefully through the survey, our part anyway, and then hopefully other cities participate. It's really about getting money to the transfer companies, the waste haulers, and also to the county transfer stations, so they can have facilities for taking recycling and things like that.
So no monies for small cities, because I guess that's kind of what I got. Was there's a big pot of money in 25.
Well, it's about the people who provide that service. The city doesn't provide garbage service or recycling, but we can request money into our area, maybe specifically for people who operate in Rockaway, and that's kind of what that survey was about. Was the state getting a feel for where our satisfaction level with the services we're able to provide here in Rockaway.
There is a big recycling area in Tillamook on 11th Street, right behind PUD. And that's where I take all of our stuff. And just, you know, once a week when I go grocery shopping, if I have something to take over there, that's where I take it. Because our sanitary has been volunteering their time on keeping ours clean, and somebody's been just trashing it all the time.
Yeah.
And so I just automatically go out to 11th Street and Tillamook.
Sounds like a good community project.
Yes.
Right? That's it.
Any other questions for City Manager Shepherd? All right. Oh, okay.
Manzanita recycling station, you said Mecca is one.
Yes.
I have one question regarding the ODOT, because EV is becoming so important, especially for tourists. Is there been any discussion to jumpstart with TPUD or something? They're certainly promoting the rebates available for chargers. So has there been any discussion maybe get us going for ODOT?
Yeah, and they're a partner in that ODOT program. But their role is more, if it's a public facility, helping us design, helping us cost estimate what it's going to take to get the power requirements to the fast charging station. But they also have rebates for residential users, and so that'd be a direct relationship between a resident and PUD. You want to have your own charging station at your home.
And commercial, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, those commercial stations, that's part of this program. Yeah. The meeting was put on by Tillamook PUD actually yesterday. So thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, it's now time for citizen input on non-agenda items. Really do thank you for participating in public comment this evening. I have the sign-up sheet. Anyone online there that wishes to participate? Okay, thank you. Let's see, the public comment period is an essential part of local government meetings. Each person has 5 minutes to speak. Our governing body takes the input into consideration. However, in observance of Oregon open meeting laws, this isn't the time for dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen to you. Our city manager is taking notes of action as needed. After I call your name, please approach the podium and state your full name and address for the record. So Jean Schultz,
Good evening, I'm Jean Schultz, I live at 240 North Slope Way. But I'm here tonight to speak to you as the president of the Rockaway Beach, Friends of the Rockaway Beach Library. And I just wanted to update you on our grant status. We are now the owners of a ductless heating system and hopefully and we'll be having lower electricity bills to pay, so we're very, very happy. We have put the stabilization of the foundation on hold for now. We have reason to believe that the sinking of the back quarter was done a long time ago. We have set up a system to monitor it, and we will keep doing that. But for the time being, we are going to take our leftover funds, which we have from the grant that you gave us, and we are going to put that towards purchasing our display equipment. So I just wanted you to know and hope that that is good for you. Okay. And I have a couple of announcements to make as well. Don Eliger, our the head of the county library, will be here on the 25th of February at 11 o'clock. It's a Saturday, and he would love to hear people come. He's taking input for what people want to see at their libraries in the future. So we're doing a lot of fun. Please show up. Okay. The other thing that I wanted, and the market calendars now, because the book sale at the library, the annual book sale is on July 3rd. Okay. Okay, so the other thing we did is a while ago, a donor approached us and gave us some funding. And one of the things we did was we had a whole wall full of plaques from all these wonderful people and organizations who gave us money to get the library in place. Unfortunately, you couldn't read them because they were small and they were behind the computers and so forth. So we took them all down and we made a big plaque that has all the names, and it's behind the desk of the librarians. You can see it beautifully. And so please come in and see that. Check out a book or two while you're there. But what we're trying to do is return plaques to the owners who gave them. So Luke, I know you want to find a place for this. City Hall. But here is the plaque that you so nicely contributed money to start the library building. Okay.
Very nice.
Okay, that's it.
Fun spot to hang.
Thank you, Jean Schultz. Appreciate that. Oh,
Gina, I have a question. On the 25th, what time of the day? Did you say? At 11 o'clock? Okay.
That's a Saturday. Okay, anything else I can answer for people? I mean, I think this is a wonderful thing he's doing, because he's going to all the branches and trying to get as much input from citizens as he can. So if you can't be there for some reason, go down to the library and drop a suggestion, give it to Matthew, the librarian, and he'll bring it up to you. Or email.
all right. Thank you. Thank you. Did anybody indicate? All right. Well, thank you for being engaged in city government and sharing your thoughts. We have no old business before us, so let's move on to new business. Request for approval of resolution number 23-980, a resolution awarding a personal services contract to Destination Management Advisors for community outreach and consulting services related to the design of the city's pedestrian, cycling, and evacuation path along US 101. This resolution awards a contract to Destination Management Advisors for project management and community outreach services related to the Rockaway Beach section of the Salmonberry Trail. I believe the Salmonberry Trail will have a substantial positive impact on commerce, livability, and quality of life in Rockaway Beach. Hiring a project manager with a mandate to conduct community outreach will enhance the likelihood that the Rockaway Beach gets this right. Staff recommends that the city invest resources to optimize the benefit and the completion of the Salmonberry Trail project. I open the floor for comments from councilors on the resolution at hand.
I move that we approve ordinance 23-980.
I'll second it.
All right, well, let's take a roll call vote. Council President Cheek,
Yes.
Councilor Hayes, Councilor Martine,
Yes.
Councilor McGinnis.
Yes.
The resolution passes unanimously. Moving on, request for approval of resolution number 23-981, a resolution making a contingency transfer of appropriation authority for fiscal year 2022 to 2023 roads and streets. A contingency transfer of $25,000 is necessary to fund work to repair the boardwalk, which took substantial damage during the late December windstorm. The resolution transfers appropriations from roads and streets contingency to roads and streets materials. As City Manager Shepherd mentioned, I'm happy to share that the city has insurance to cover the cost for this. So appreciate the foresight that they took when the trail was first put in. I open the floor for comments from councilors.
I move that the Rockaway Beach City Council approve resolution number 23-981.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded, and so voting, Council President Cheek,
Yes.
Councilor Hayes, Councilor Martine,
Yes.
Councilor McGinnis.
Yes.
The resolution passes unanimously. Request for approval of resolution number 23-982, a resolution approving the memorandum of understanding regarding South First Street Railroad Crossing rehabilitation. The project consists of track relay and resurfacing of the railroad crossing at South First Street. This resolution will allow the city to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad. This memorandum of understanding outlines the working arrangements that each party agree are necessary to complete the project. In general, Rockaway Beach agrees to pay for project materials, and Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad is to provide the labor and project management. This will certainly create a better experience for residents and visitors when turning on First Street to visit the wayside.
I move that we pass resolution number 23982.
I do have a question. We have the port as part of this process, is that correct? Too? Because some of it's port.
Yeah, that'll be between the railroad and the port.
Okay, okay, that's it.
I heard a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I'll second it. All right, it's been moved and seconded, and we'll take a vote. Council President Cheek,
Yes.
Councilor Hayes,
Yes.
Councilor Martine,
Yes.
Councilor McGinnis.
Yes.
All right, the resolution passes unanimously. All right, let's move on to council comments, and the chair recognizes Council President Cheek.
This resolution that we have just approved has been a long needed redo of that street. I've been here for many, many years, and it's a blessing that we're finally going to get that railroad crossing fixed so that you can walk across it without fearing for your life.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. And I want to thank City Manager Shepherd for the nice presentation and how you put it out to this meeting. And I think it's an added nice feature that we have with it on the screen, and everyone can see it. Everyone can see what we're talking about. And with a little bit of description that we've gotten on it, I think it's widens our intelligence and scope.
Thank you, Councilor.
And that's it.
All right, Councilor Hayes.
I think we're striving to fix some of our processes. I really liked how the workshop went earlier, and that we can discuss some stuff. And so we're updating like 16-year-old ordinances for the meeting agenda. And what else can I say? The grant workshop went really great for the community grant on Monday. We had probably 20 people in attendance, I think I counted. There's another workshop this coming Monday, and that's for countywide money for signs. And so I'm hoping folks will attend that, though grants can be combined. And so I think we're going to continue to do that to help businesses get that money and improve our downtown corridor. So I worry about the Salmonberry a little bit too, just, because I was raised here. And so I'm glad that we're going to be encouraging folks to give feedback and stuff. We actually had some open meetings here in City Hall already on this. And so it seems like it's taking forever too. And I guess that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Martine?
Yeah, Benny had a lot to say what I wanted to say, but your presentation really helped us on making, passing those things today. And the whole meeting went really smoothly this evening, so worked well.
Thank you. Councilor McGinnis.
I want to remind everyone about the Lake Lighting Workshop, February the 22nd here in this room. And there's also a survey online that people can take, sharing their ideas. This is actually, we are going to lease the gravel parking lot from the county. And this is sharing ideas of what to do with all of that. And we do want to make sure that the public always has input on everything that we do. We received, some of us counselors at least received a letter from someone who is already thinking of another project, and that's mountain biking trails at the north end of town up in the logging roads. So there are lots of visionary people. I want to thank Mayor Charles for joining the Oregon Mayors Association and working on homelessness in the North County area. And I had several, but we've covered almost all of them. Oh, I will just mention that several of us attended the Oregon League of Cities quarterly meeting in St. Helens, and we learned a lot and shared a lot of ideas with other cities on the North Coast, and that's always beneficial to see that we're not alone, that we have other people, other communities that are working through the same issues that we are. And I want to thank also City Manager Shepherd. You bring great clarity to all the questions that we have. So thank you.
Thank you,
That's it.
Councilor McGinnis. All right. Mayor's report. Let me begin my comments with a shout out to Chief Hesse and the Rockaway Beach Fire Department volunteers and staff for simply being an awesome group. Chief Hesse, Chief Vincent, Captain Grace, and Firefighter Booz spent 3 hours in a deep dive into our fire department with me. I got a briefing on their equipment, their trucks, and the good, bad, and ugly about their trucks. I met Emily, the emergency integrated life-saving lanyard, and I met Lucas, an easy-to-use mechanical chest compression device. I learned of their fire training equipment, such as the flashover simulator, a real-world simulation room. Firefighters are able to experience the intensity and heat of a controlled fire in their training. And Councilor McGinnis, I actually got taken inside it and got shown around it. So I'm like you, I'm looking forward to when they do the demonstration. They have a forcible entry door prop. You know, doors open in and doors open out. So firefighters need to be prepared for any kind of door they run up against. There is a chimney fire prop, a window rescue prop, and a roof prop. So training, and more training. Captain Grace, the medical officer, shared with me their medical training equipment. They have a nice simulate heart monitor prop, which allows for running medical scenarios in real time. They have IV arms for child, adult, and geriatrics for training. They have an advanced life-saving full-size mannequin that allows training in giving IVs, monitoring the heart, taking blood pressure, and placement of basic and advanced airwave devices. They have an OB mannequin to practice childbirth techniques and CPR mannequins for teaching that upcoming CPR class for the community that Mr. Weissenflue asked about. I was invited to return that evening to observe the cardiac arrest training. And Chief Hesse mentioned this about volunteers. You know, keep in mind that this is basically a volunteer fire department Yet every one of those volunteers came back that evening after a day of work to participate in the training. Captain Grace provided classroom training, then ran teams through 3 real-life scenarios. After completing each scenario, there was a period of constructive discussion of what went well and what could have gone better. What really impressed me is it was clear that the entire team simply wanted to get better. I left the fire station that evening knowing that should I need emergency medical intervention, I would be in good hands. Chief Hesse also shared with me the challenges of staffing a volunteer fire department, yet he currently has 17 excellent volunteer firefighters and recently received applications from 3 individuals eager to join the ranks of the Rockaway Beach Fire Department. I suggest that this is a testament to his exceptional leadership. So I say to all of Rockaway Beach, if you are looking to hang out with an incredible group of supportive, talented, and dedicated people while making a difference in our community, please consider becoming a volunteer firefighter. I then on another day met with Under Sheriff Matt Kelly of the Tillamook County Sheriff's Office to learn about his organization and operation. We discussed the current staffing, Deputies Sean Ehlers and Kevin Grogan, who cover our city Sunday through Saturday, about 80 hours of coverage with other deputies responding as needed when Deputies Ehlers and Grogan are off duty. Per our agreement, Under Sheriff Kelly is working to add 2 more patrol officers, which will give us 4 dedicated deputies and patrol coverage 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. 7 days a week. It was already mentioned, but I'm going to just repeat it. The Tillamook County Sheriff's Office is hosting a 2-day hiring event at the Tillamook County Fairground on February 16th and 17th. And what impressed me about this is it's really being designed to shorten the duration from application to offer. And as Deputy Grogan talked about, the testing is in 1 day, the interviews are in the next day. And it's one of the biggest challenges they run into is it tends to take a long time to get through the entire process. So here again is another opportunity to give back to your community. And as Deputy Grogan said, if you're looking for a change in career or haven't got a career yet, please consider working with this motivated, dedicated group of people. I will say I found Under Sheriff Kelly deeply committed to meeting the policing needs of Rockaway Beach and working toward enhanced community policing. Under Sheriff Kelly grew up in Rockaway Beach, attended Neoconi High School, and spent time in the Air Force before embarking on a successful career in law enforcement. Under Sheriff Kelly will deliver a presentation on the Tillamook County Sheriff's Office and their working relationship with Rockaway Beach at the March City Council meeting. I believe we are fortunate to have him watching out for our safety. In August 2022, our City Council approved signing a memorandum of agreement for the Tillamook County Coordinated Homeless Response System. We joined Manzanita, Wheeler, Bay City, Garibaldi, both the city and county of Tillamook, and CARE. The members held the first meeting last week, and I was very impressed with the engagement of the folks on this task force and looking forward to participating going forward. We also signed on to the Oregon Mayors Association Homeless Task Force. If successful, this effort will bring direct funding to Rockaway Beach of $60,000. Both of these efforts will enable Rockaway Beach to be part of the solution. I do want to give a shout out. She's still back there, I guess. Well, I want to give a shout out to Office Manager Becca Harth for creating and displaying our public participation during City Council meetings guidelines. I hope the regulars and those who are new to council meetings will find this document helpful. I know I would have when I started attending City Council meetings, so very happy to have it. Thank you, Office Manager Harth. I also want to thank City Manager Luke Shepard for his patience and generosity of time as I get my sea legs as your mayor. He's been invaluable getting me up to speed. If you are interested in getting email updates and information from our city government, please go to the city's website homepage and scroll to the bottom of the homepage where you will find an invitation to sign up for the city email list. This is one more communication channel that the city leadership will use to update you. If you have an email address, please take the time to add it to our list. And then we've heard about the upcoming March newsletter from City Manager Shepherd. I'm excited about that. And in it, you will learn about the scheduling of our monthly leadership office hours for drop-in discussions with City Manager Luke Shepherd, counselors, and me. So we will do a monthly leadership office hours available for drop-in visits and discussions. I'm also excited to share with you that we will have a town hall in July and every 6 months thereafter. Each town hall will be anchored by my State of the City address. More to come on the date and time and agenda in the June Rockaway Beach newsletter. This next one's a little hard for me, but I am deeply saddened by the turn of events that kept Cindy K. Gregory from sitting up front as a counselor tonight. As such, I want to share with you what I wrote about Cindy K. Gregory and the Move voter during last year's campaign. All you need to know about Cindy K. to know that she is the right person for city councilor is that she is 2022 Volunteer of the Year for our beautification efforts and community engagement such as Rockaway Renaissance Artists and Hunters Helpers. Cindy K. will bring the residents into the process of governing Rockaway Beach and wants to open up additional channels of communication between the city and the residents and provide tangible support for our merchants. I am proud to support her and work collaboratively to bring fresh new voices to city government. City K is worthy of your vote. So this is who the voters of Rockaway Beach overwhelmingly voted into office. So if you want to bring the residents in the process of governing Rockaway Beach and want to open up additional channels of communication between the city and residents and provide tangible support for merchants, please give serious consideration to applying for Cindy K's vacant seat. Be the fresh new voice of community engagement that Cindy K would have been. Thanks for your time and attention. Oh, please. I was going to just open it up, see if there's anything else.
I forgot to mention earlier, if you haven't driven by the old community center, thank you, Dan Emerson and Public Works Department. It looks amazing, and I think it will now last us and serve us well for many more years. I can't see behind everybody, but I guess Dan's still here.
Yeah, he's back.
So, there he is. So thank you very much, and tell the rest of Public Works, thank you.
Any other comments from councilors? All right, may I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second it.
All right. Council President Cheek.
Yes.
Councilor Hayes.
Yes.
Councilor Martine.
Yes.
Councilor McGinnis.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 7:34 on Wednesday, February 8th, 2023.
Love our timetables. Thank you.
Ah, yeah.
The recording has stopped.